Rain beat against the cracked window of the back room, a steady drum that drowned out the hum of the fluorescent lights. Lena Carter's hands moved with mechanical precision, folding a faded blue t-shirt, then another, then a pair of jeans, stacking them neatly on a wobbly metal table. The air smelled of detergent and dust, thick with the weight of years spent in this 10 by 10-foot space. Her apron, frayed at the edges, hung loose over her worn sneakers. At 34, Lena's face carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who'd given up dreaming for herself. She'd been folding clothes at Harper's department store for 7 years, her shifts blending into a blur of cotton and polyester. Outside, the world spun on, customers complaining, cash registers beeping, managers barking orders. But here, in the back room, time stood still. Only the clock above the door moved, its hands creeping toward 9 p.m. Another 12-hour shift. Another night she'd missed dinner with her younger brother, who she'd raised since their mother passed. Lena paused, brushing a strand of hair from her eyes, and glanced at the stack of clothes. 50 more to go. "Keep moving," she muttered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Then the door swung open. Not the usual creak of a coworker sneaking in for a smoke break, but a sharp, deliberate push. Lena didn't look up at first, probably another manager with a last-minute demand. But the air shifted, carrying a faint scent of expensive cologne. She froze, her hands mid-fold, as a man in a tailored navy suit stepped into the flickering light. His polished shoes clicked against the linoleum, out of place in this forgotten corner of the store. He was tall, silver hair neatly combed, eyes sharp with purpose. The CEO of Harper's, Victor Grayson, whose face she'd only seen on posters in the break room. Her stomach twisted. CEOs didn't visit back rooms, not at 9 p.m., not in stores like this, teetering on the edge of closure in a run-down strip mall. Lena Carter. His voice was low, steady, cutting through the rain's rhythm. She nodded, her throat dry, the t-shirt slipping from her fingers. Around her, the stacks of clothes seemed to lean in, listening. "I've been watching this store," Victor said, his gaze sweeping the cluttered shelves before settling on her. "And you." Lena's heart thudded. Watching? She was nobody, a backroom worker who hadn't taken a sick day in years, who stayed late to fix others' mistakes, who smiled at customers even when they snapped. "I don't understand," she said, barely above a whisper. Victor reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, gleaming keyring. The keys caught the light, glinting like something alive. "These," he said, holding them out, "are for you. The store is yours now." The room spun. Lena's knees buckled, and she gripped the edge of the table. The keys dangled in his hand, a promise and a weight she couldn't comprehend. "You've kept this place alive," Victor continued. "Every late night, every fixed mistake, every time you didn't walk away when others did. I know about the time you paid for a customer's return out of your own pocket, the extra hours you worked when the manager forgot to schedule enough staff. You're the reason this store hasn't collapsed." Lena's mind raced. She remembered those moments, slipping a $20 bill to cover a return, staying till midnight to reorganize shelves after a sale. But how did he know? "Why me?" she asked, her voice cracking. Victor's eyes softened just for a moment. "Because you didn't do it for recognition. That's why it has to be you." The keys felt cold in her palm as he pressed them into her hand. Her coworkers, huddled near the door, stared in silence. Marla, the cashier who'd mocked Lena's pointless diligence, dropped her phone mid-text. The rain outside seemed to pause, holding its breath. Lena looked at the keys, then at Victor. "I'm just a folder," she said, almost to herself. "Not anymore," he replied. "You're the owner." He turned to leave, his coat brushing the doorframe, then paused. "You'll find the paperwork in the manager's office. My lawyer will meet you tomorrow. Don't let this place stay broken." And then he was gone, his footsteps fading into the storm. Lena stood frozen, the keys biting into her palm, the weight of 1,000 folded shirts pressing against her chest. The back room was silent now, save for the drip of a leak in the corner. Lena's breath came in short bursts. "Ownership? Her?" The woman who'd dropped out of community college to care for her brother, who'd learned to stretch a $200 paycheck across rent, groceries, and medical bills. She wanted to laugh, to throw the keys after him, to call it a cruel joke. But the keys were real, heavy, their edges sharp against her skin. She glanced at the clock, 9:15 p.m. Her shift was over, but she couldn't move. The store, this crumbling relic of a retail chain, was hers. And with it, every problem she'd seen but never had the power to fix. The broken shelving units, the manager's favoritism, the schedules that left single mothers with no childcare. She closed her eyes, the rain's rhythm returning, and whispered, "What have I gotten myself into?" The next morning, Lena walked into Harper's department store not as a backroom worker, but as something impossible. The keys jangled in her pocket, a constant reminder of the night before. The store smelled the same, cheap perfume and stale coffee, but the fluorescent lights felt harsher, the aisles narrower. Her coworkers whispered as she passed, their eyes darting between curiosity and disbelief. In the manager's office, a small, cluttered room she'd rarely entered, a folder waited on the desk. She opened it, her hands trembling. Legal documents, stamped and notarized, named her the owner of store number 472. A handwritten note from Victor read, "You've carried this place for years. Now make it yours. VG." Lena's chest tightened. She thought of her brother, still asleep in their tiny apartment, unaware his sister had just inherited a sinking ship. She sat in the creaky chair, the folder open before her, and started reading. The store's financials were a mess: overdue vendor payments, payroll discrepancies, and invoices for services that didn't exist. One name kept appearing: Westfield Solutions, billed for consulting and maintenance totaling $4,800 monthly, just under the audit threshold. Lena frowned, flipping through old records. Westfield's address was a P.O. box, its phone number disconnected. Her pulse quickened. This wasn't just sloppy bookkeeping, it was deliberate. She thought of Greg, the store manager who'd retired abruptly last month, always dodging questions about budgets. Had he been skimming? Lena grabbed a pen and started marking every suspicious entry, her hands moving with the same precision she'd used folding clothes. By noon, she'd uncovered a pattern: fake vendors, inflated costs, and missing inventory. The store wasn't failing because of low sales, it was being bled dry. "Lena, you in there?" Marla's voice came through the door, sharp and skeptical. Lena looked up, the folder still open. Marla leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "So, what, you're the boss now? Gonna fire us all?" Lena's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm not firing anyone, but things are going to change." Marla snorted. "Good luck. This place is a graveyard." She walked away, leaving Lena alone with the papers. The weight of the keys in her pocket felt heavier now. She wasn't just an owner, she was a detective, a fixer, a leader, in a role she'd never asked for. But something stirred in her, a spark of the same resolve that kept her folding clothes night after night. She wasn't going to let this store, or herself, break. Lena spent the afternoon in the office, sorting through records and calling vendors. Half of the numbers were dead ends, confirming her suspicions. By 3 p.m., she dialed Victor's lawyer, a woman named Claire Voss, whose voice was crisp and nonsense. "Miss Carter, the transfer is complete. You own the store outright. Any questions?" Lena didn't hesitate. "Yeah, why's this place drowning in fake invoices? Westfield Solutions, Pinnacle Consulting, none of them exist." There was a pause, then Claire's tone softened. "Mr. Grayson suspected as much. That's why he chose you. You see what others ignore." Lena's grip on the phone tightened. "So he knew and didn't fix it?" Claire's voice stayed calm. "He believes you will. The store's yours to rebuild." Lena hung up, her mind racing. Victor hadn't just handed her a gift, he'd handed her a fight. That evening, Lena called a staff meeting in the break room. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as 15 employees shuffled in, some curious, others hostile. Marla sat in the back, scrolling on her phone. Lena stood at the front, the keys on the table beside her. I'm not here to pretend I'm a CEO, she began, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. I'm here because I've seen what's wrong with this place, same as you. Broken shelves, shorted paychecks, managers who didn't care. I'm not them. But I need you to decide, are you in or are you out? Silence hung heavy. Then Javert, the stockroom kid who'd always shared his lunch with Lena, spoke up. You stayed late when Greg left us shorthanded. I'm in. A few nodded. Marla rolled her eyes, but stayed quiet. Lena exhaled. It was a start. The next day, Lena posted a notice on the breakroom board. Harper's department store is under new ownership. We fix what's broken starting now. If you're in, show up tomorrow at 8 a.m. If not, no hard feelings. She didn't sleep that night, her mind spinning with numbers, names, and the face